Topping today's news, the government introduces another bill with new amendments to the Bail Act. Hotel workers ready for industrial action after negotiations with employers broke down on Tuesday. And industrial action may also be looming for the University of the Bahamas. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jarino Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. It is a pleasure to have you join us. As the government continues to wage war against crime and the individuals perpetrating crimes, today in Parliament, the Bail Amendment Bill introduced in the House of Assembly last week by Prime Minister Philip Davis was withdrawn and a new Bail Amendment Bill introduced. The Prime Minister moved for the second reading and passing of this new bill. He began by saying that the country has run out of patience when it comes to criminality.
We are here today because we can all agree that enough is enough. How many times have we heard news of a terrible crime and mere seconds later learn that the chief suspect is already charged with the previous crime and was free to commit this new act of violence because he's out on bail. Too many crimes are committed by individuals who are out on bail despite the fact that there is strong and persuasive evidence that they do not respect our laws, they do not respect our judicial process, or the judge who imposed the conditions of their bail. The evidence is this: they have violated one or several conditions under which their bail was granted. In these circumstances, we are here to address.
The Prime Minister says with the new amendments to the Bail Act, judges still have the discretion to grant bail, but there will be a new approach regarding individuals guilty of breaching their original bail conditions.
Judges have discretion over the grant or denial of bail. It is true. But today, we are here to require that in cases where the accused has violated one or more of the conditions under which their bail was granted, the revocation of that bail is the automatic and immediate penalty. You break the rules, you go to jail. No more fines for violations. No more freedom to commit new crimes. When people show us they cannot follow the rules, it is more than reasonable to infer they pose too great a risk to public safety to be free as they await trial.
The new legislation will remove the ability for judges to issue fines for individuals breaching bail and instead leaves a custodial sentence to prison as the only option. The Prime Minister says any criticism of this new bill amendment is misplaced. He says the goal is straightforward, which is to keep Bahamians safe in their homes and in their neighborhoods.
The point we're making here is that those who are granted bail can no longer take their freedom for granted and gamble with their lives and the lives of those around them. You know, Mr. Deputy Speaker, last year, over 40% of murder victims were on bail for murder-related charges. And they are not the only victims. Gang violence is putting innocent Bahamians at risk. Passengers who ride in their vehicles, children in their homes, family members, even innocent passers-by walking or driving have had their lives tragically cut short. Many times, these incidents of violence occur when the individual granted bail is engaging in activities that are clearly in breach of the conditions of their bail, or they have previously violated these conditions only to pay a fine and walk the streets as a free man. Providing more forceful accountability when these breaches occur will reduce the number of, our view, bail-related murders. This amendment is an important step forward to save lives.
Meanwhile, Adrian White, the opposition member of Parliament for St. Anne's, complained of only receiving an electronic copy of this new Bail Act amendment at 8 a.m. this morning. He went on to describe the new legislation as lackluster and not doing enough in the fight against crime.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, what's going on with this bill isn't anything groundbreaking. The government would like to convince the public that they're getting to it, but this is 2.5, 3 years into the term, and they're saying they're getting to it. They're not getting to it, they're responding to it. And they're responding to it late, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy Speaker, the issue of bail in this country is one created by a lack of resources and empowered judiciary. We've heard of specialty courts, Mr. Deputy Speaker, but we've not seen the Rodney Bain building demolished yet and the new improved court complex constructed. There are hirings in the Attorney General's office with a number of new and junior attorneys there. And the prosecutorial team, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is already overworked. That's why we have a backlog of trials.
Mr. White also made the point that the new amendments will only result in more work for prosecutors.
All of a sudden, Mr. Deputy Speaker, those already overly stretched prosecutors are now being required not just to prepare for the trial of the charge for which the individual has been accused, but now they have to prepare for a trial on summary conviction for the breach of the bail condition. So instead of alleviating, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the amount of work that's required of our prosecutorial vehicles, we are now adding to it. And that, Mr. Deputy Speaker, in my opinion, is going to result in greater strain on our judicial system.
The Minister of National Security, Wayne Munro, stood on a point of order to explain there is no additional work for the prosecutors, as Mr. White asserted. However, Mr. White maintains the new amendments do little, if any, that will help stem the high rates of crime in the country. Members of the Bahamas Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union have announced they are ready to take industrial action after negotiations broke down in a meeting on Tuesday between the union and the Bahamas Hotel and Restaurateurs Employers Association. Union President Darren Woods explained to reporters at Workers' House this morning what their actions may entail.
The employers at varying times of the year will issue statements to the members that they have blackout dates when they cannot take vacations and the like. And of course, we always say to them, at least some people are able to take vacation, but in our version, we are calling our members to stand up. It's a blackout day. The employers are taking advantage of the good nature of the members and have taken them for granted for too long. They have now widened their take back to include the members in the non-tip category. They indicated to us that their position was it was the greater than for the tip. And only yesterday, we found out that as a result of the 3% increase that they gave to the non-tip, that they want to take that back out of the 8%. Well, we say it'll be a cold day in hell for us. We've negotiated this on behalf of the members, and we will not stand for anything else to be taken from them. This is the first time in the history of negotiations that negotiations have and are being conducted in this fashion. The hotel industry is now on industrial action, which includes, but not limited to, work to rule, where the members will now work according to their job description.
He also sent a warning to those in hotels that would attempt to intimidate members of his union for executing their rights.
We also send a stern and fair and firm assurance to our members that if any managerial person attempts attempts to prevent them from carrying out their rights. At this point, and this exercise will be met with swift and fast retaliation on behalf of this union to protect the rights of its members. And this is not a threat, this is a promise. One of the undertakings that we've undertaken is to protect the negotiated rights for our people. We believe that now is the time more than ever to stand up for what you believe in.
Mr. Woods maintains the union will remain steadfast and firm in carrying out what he calls Step 2 in their action, with Step 1 being the meeting at the foot of the Sidney Poitier Bridge last Thursday. He encouraged union members to maintain their standard of excellence.
They will no longer hold two stations. If you're asked to go to another station, you leave the other station empty. With that will also come the extra care that we are now insisting that our members give to the persons in the service area particularly. We want to make sure that you serve the guests with excellence. We want to make sure that you prepare those rooms with excellence. We want to make sure that the engineers who go into the room take the time that is necessary to prepare the product that is necessary for the guests to inhabit. Why we're doing that is to guard against any proliferation of reprimands under the guise of failure to carry out satisfactory service on the guests.
Union members are accusing Atlanta's resort of union busting by blocking the signing of a long overdue industrial agreement. And finally, in this segment, the Bahamas Public Service Union protested outside the Harry Seymour Library at the University of the Bahamas on Monday with complaints regarding their salary review that never took place and wages owed since 2019. Minister of Labor and Public Service Pia Glover-Roll briefly spoke with the media at the House of Assembly today, responding to the protest at UB. She is hopeful for a resolution very soon.
The Bahamas Public Service Union was invited to the table by the University of Bahamas prior to the protests. While they have a right to protest, there was open communication. So as UB and BPSU continue to talk, negotiate, we hope that they will come to a resolution in the soonest possible time.
Minister Glover-Roll also states that the union is doing their job by voicing their concerns and that the government must do its job to meet those concerns.
Again, it's their constitutional right to protest, to demonstrate, but I am reasonably comfortable that we have absolutely open lines of communication. We have facilitated a labor relations unit that is in constant communication with our trade unions. We have a director of labor who has come in and is already forming relationships with all of the stakeholders, and we are always easy to access. So I don't think it's frustrating. I think that they do what they do as unions, and it's up to us as a government to do what we do, which is lead from the front, govern and ensure that the issues are handled in a reasonable way, that the issues are handled as swiftly as possible, considering that many of these issues that they are advocating for have been outstanding for over 10 years.
That was Minister Pia Glover-Roll, Minister of Labor and the Public Service, addressing concerns of union members at the University of the Bahamas. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.